Well, hey, welcome back to Mesh Talk with NickiiJean, and I am sitting down with the one and only Mr. Manny Cruz. I'm really excited about this. Okay, first of all, Manny and I work together just a bit.
Yeah.
We briefly met on a project that we're on, Mesh, but I had no idea that you had all this other background information going on. So I know you as a videographer, but please let our guests know all the other things that you do, not just videography, but we have artists.
Yes, I'm a singer, songwriter, I'm a musician. So my first instrument is the bass. But along the way, you learn how to produce and use software and make beats and stuff like that. So I do a little bit of a lot.
Okay.
And yeah, I try to challenge myself.
I had no idea. You're like, as you guys can see, it's like super cool, calm, laid back. And like, I need to see you in the studio myself. Like, I need to actually
That would be cool.
I would love to.
I always have ideas and
Yeah.
I'm always thinking, man, it would be great to collaborate.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't really open to collaborating,
Mhm.
honestly, like when I came down here the first time, Mesh, but you guys kept talking about it and it's funny because it kind of manifested. It happened for me. So.
Okay, let's get serious already. Okay. I agree 100%. I think that Mesh has done a great job with meshing people together, bringing people together, different creatives, and, promoting, the concept of collaborating. I think that there's nothing wrong with collaborating. So we will get into the collaborations that you have going on. But I want to kind of like go backwards and talk about, okay, where you born and raised, where are you from, and how we ended up in LA.
All right. Well, my story is pretty simple. My parents, they come from Mexico, and so they arrived at Dallas, Texas.
Hey,
That's
Dallas.
where I was born,
Shout out
Parkland
to
Memorial
Dallas.
Hospital. Yeah, I'm proud Texans, but my dad decided later on that he wanted to pursue a different career, so we ended up moving to San Diego, and that's pretty much where I was raised.
Okay.
But I've been to a lot of different places in the country, so
Yeah.
I like to consider myself a little cultured, just a tad bit.
We love culture. Yes, we love culture people.
Yeah.
Okay, so for whatever reason, this is just like a fun fact. You were born at the same hospital that JFK was taken to after he was shot, right?
Apparently, but
apparently.
I've been hearing good things though. Apparently that hospital is now new or it's different. It's not the same place.
What's the hospital?
Parkland Memorial Hospital.
Parkland Memorial.
Yeah.
How old were you when you found out that, because this is just like a fun fact, random, but like how old were you when you found out about like, oh, this is it, or was that even like
Nah, I really never put the two together. Honestly, I never really, I never thought it was a big deal. When they told me in the history class, I was probably not even paying attention. I was a bad kid. I probably did say class if I'm being honest.
We're just distracted. You weren't bad, just a little distracted.
No, honestly, I mean, it's a thing. Like I said, I'm super proud of being from Texas, but I like to consider myself from a little bit of everywhere because I've also lived in Florida. I got family in Florida.
Yeah.
I lived in North Carolina. I live in Maryland right now.
Okay.
So I got family everywhere.
Okay. I wanted to another fun fact, but I think that this fun fact will lead us into our next conversation in regards to just like your introduction to music. But you grew up in a church, or you had what was the religion?
So it was apostolic.
Okay.
It was like Pentecostal, PAW.
Same.
Yeah, Kojic.
Same.
Yeah,
Kojic.
we get
Strict.
we get to shouting. We get to holler.
Holy Ghost.
Holy Ghost. Yes,
all the things.
all that good stuff.
All the things.
And so, to me, it was a very influential part of my life.
I'm sure.
Because we do church one way at the Spanish service, and then you turn around and then get invited to the English.
Yes, I'm trying to go to the Spanish church
and they party it up differently, but both are just as fun.
I'm sure,
what I think.
And the mission is still the same, right? So I don't think I've ever been to a Spanish church.
Oh, girl, let me invite you.
I think that I've been to like a Catholic a Catholic version, but I've never.
It's nothing wrong with that. It's a little more serious. There's a little something different
we standing
for everybody.
up and sitting down quite often, but same
that was different for me too because I wasn't used to that.
Wait a minute, why are we doing this again?
What are they rolling this wooden thing out for? What's this wood thing here for?
My knee is hurting. Okay, wait a minute. We love Catholics.
Yeah, we love everybody.
But so that is my connection to the religion and the race at the same time. So I had no idea. I need to see this for myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I got a lot of friends who still go to the church that I grew up in, and I still speak to them.
Yes.
And so, like I said, that was a part of like I guess my first introduction to like anything musical.
But okay, wait, rewind. So because I said there was a reason why I brought this up. I was told that you can sing and you are all into the, music and all the things, but like you had to like be paid with like burgers and food in the church environment. Like, Manny, you got the vocals. Why are you not getting up here and saying, okay, let's give him a burger and he will sing?
It wasn't cool.
Don't tell
like
me it was
all
just
my
like
friends
that.
were like, man, if you sing, you're not gonna hear the end of it. We're gonna make fun of you because that's not what we do. And I was like, yeah, right. That's not what we do.
So you were
but then
experiencing
a girl,
friends.
Then one of my, I guess the choir director, one of my best friends, it just happened to be her older sisters. And so she overheard the conversation. She's like, I got one for you. She's like, look, I'm going to let you sing a solo. Or if you sing a solo, I will buy you a double cheeseburger.
Not a double cheeseburger.
A double cheeseburger. And to me, that was like, wait a minute.
Okay.
Look. My dad was very stingy. He did not like spending money at all. So
we got food at home.
Yeah, he's like, no, we don't eat out in the fast food and all that. So to me, that was like, oh, that's a done deal. I'll sing whatever you want.
So what did you sing, Manny?
I ended up singing a Kirk Franklin song.
Okay, Kirk Franklin.
It's What You Looking For?
Oh, I don't know what you're looking for. I got what you're looking for. Oh, let me find out I can sing.
Hey, I already heard you. You were singing Fred Hammond the other day. Anyway,
Kojic will make you feel like you can do anything. Okay, that really makes sense now. Yeah. Okay. So you're in the industry now, or not in the industry, but like that was like your first introduction to like, music, right?
Yes.
So lead me into your like professional, like, route. Like we're church singing at the church for hamburgers.
Yeah,
it's a little different
that pretty much kind of started it though, because, it's like sometimes it's all it takes is just somebody to egg you on and to give you a little bit of confidence and encouragement. And next thing you know, those same kids that were making fun of me and telling me that, they
pay the lady.
They want to be in the choir now, and they want to be musicians
soprano,
too. So
alto,
there you go.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree. But it always takes somebody to be, bold enough to.
I was like, look, I'll do it for a double cheeseburger.
I'm gonna do it for a cheeseburger. I'm gonna do it for a number 5 with some okay. And I like the breakfast meal. Don't let them sell breakfast all day because I'm doing it for. Okay, yes, I hear it. When I heard this fun fact, I was like, what? Yeah. What? Okay,
that might be a strategy. If you got a kid that's not, you got to find a way to motivate people.
How do we reinforce people? Don't get me started. Okay, so you mentioned Kirk Franklin in the past, like, oh, that was one of the first songs that you sung. But you actually opened up for Kirk Franklin.
Yes, I got.
Okay, yes.
Later on, I don't remember the exact year, but it was in the Coors Amphitheater in San Diego. I don't know if it's called the Coors Amphitheater now or some Soak City or something like that. But I remember opening up for him and POD. And that was actually really cool because it put me in front of a lot of people and that opened up the doors for me for a lot of...
But talk about before that. Like, how did you even get in that position?
I think I had people who were just as motivated about music as me. So, I mean, before there was like... People do the 2-track when they play their stuff where they basically got music going on while they have a live band playing.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was doing that when I would literally bring my desktop computer and I'd set it up and I'd have like a whole Pro Tools session like up on stage with musicians. And I think, I don't know, to me, it just made sense to do it. And I just remember doing a good job. But that event opened a lot of doors for me.
But I hear you and I agree 100%. But like, I need you to walk me through the day that you got contacted for this event. Like, how did that come about?
Well, that's a friend, I guess. I'd always looked up to this person because where I grew up, you have very few like Latino American, artists, right? And so I obviously always grew up listening to gospel artists. And there just so happened to be this man called Montes.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's a little bit different name. And I liked the way he sang. And I always thought that was cool. But I didn't know that he was a Latino man. And when I found out he was, like, I really just became a big fan of his. And then somehow he ended up finding out that I was a fan of his. And then he ends up flying me to Dallas. Well, first he ends up hearing me sing over the phone. Yeah. And actually that's like the real first time I ever met Lane Shia.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
and it was a while ago because I was 14 years old at the time. I was a young kid.
Oh my god.
And so many years passed by and I got to do some more stuff. I actually got to be in a group with him and we got to record some stuff together. So
wow.
it was just, to me, it was like, I was a fan of this guy. I was a super fan of this guy, and he flew me out. And that experience, like, pretty much, it's all it took for me.
Flown out for me. Fly me out.
Yeah, fly me out and just inspire the rest of my life.
To showcase my talent. Like, oh my gosh, like, this gives me hope. Like, this makes me feel like I am doing the right thing. I am walking in the right path and purpose in regards to my career. For someone to want to take you out of your natural environment, to put you in a different environment, to showcase your career says a lot about, where you are.
That's the kind of man he is, and he's been doing that ever since. Like, he's always been pouring into me and teaching me and showing me stuff and connecting me with new people. So, yeah, man.
Wow. I just learned something new. I didn't know that. Okay, I need to go back to, like, family. Another fun fact is that your dad is the Fred Stanford.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay, I feel like I didn't do the right. Was that the right key? But okay, for our youngins who don't know who Fred Stanford is, I actually grew up. Well, my mom like watched him, and we actually like ran into him in the community at like some event.
Oh, what? That's cool.
I was like so pumped, like, oh my gosh, that's the mean guy from TV.
Yeah,
like that was kind of like
roasting on people, closing the door on ladies and stuff.
Hilarious, kept it a buck. Okay, so why do you feel like people like that's such a random fact? But I thought that was like very interesting. Well, like, why do you think people say that?
My dad was he worked in the restaurant business when we were living in Dallas, but when he went on vacation, came back, and he got fired on his day off pretty much.
God, okay, Friday, and then he ends up all over again.
And I guess the family ends up having to move to San Diego, and then he became pretty much a Latino Fred Sanford there. He started just buying returns and sell them at the flea market. And so for me, it was cool because my job was to test the stuff.
Okay.
Because people want to know it works.
Okay.
And so what I would find is like Busta Rhymes, Discman, CD. Sometimes back in the cassette times, I'd find some Boys to Men or some like R&B stuff. And I remember Earth, Wind and Fire was one of the tapes that I found. But that's pretty much was my school. It was my music school. Just listening to the returns.
So that's why, 'cause I'm like, why is this a fact? I mean, and this is I think that's such a random connection. So.
Yeah, it was like, my dad, well, people always wonder like, well, who are your influences? But how in the world did you come across that? Like, didn't y'all listen to like, doom, 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 doom? Nah, we don't listen to that. Like, my dad didn't like that music.
What an assumption, though, right? But I was ready for it, so.
I mean, we every once in a while, you go to Mexico and you listen to something like that. But really, like, I was raised and adopted by a different culture, multiple cultures, I would say.
I could see
that. And so I just embraced it. I never fought it. I took and R&B and jazz, and I was influenced by gospel, and so that inspired me because to me it was just soulful.
Yeah.
It transcended.
My soul
it transcended the words. It transcended 100%. The music, and I just felt everything that was 100%. happening. So.
There was also a reference to bachata music.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
Break
different.
Down bachata music.
That was different.
Yeah, like I want to understand. So there's a connection that you have with bachata music. Mm-hmm. One, what is bachata music, and why is that a connection for you?
So bachata hails from the Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. And so there was a time where it was the music that the poor people would listen to. But it's romantic music. And so the instrumentation, the quality, the production, it's always kind of like
I'm a little triggered because I grew up a little poor, so I'm just trying to understand, like, what do you mean?
Yeah, there's a difference.
So,
like, you obviously, I mean, that's the history, and correct me if I'm wrong. I might be saying this wrong, but I was tasked with doing research on this. Mm-hmm. Before I actually got to sing to it. So I know it comes from the Dominican Republic, and over time it became something that is very popular, so it's not seen that way anymore. Yeah. It's music for everybody. It's a romantic type of music that, like, you have reggaeton, you have merengue, right?
Yeah,
they're all different kind of, they're all a little bit of a different season.
It's a different conversation.
It's a different, it's a different vibe. And so what I guess John had, he had basically gotten a record deal, and
John,
something happened where, like, basically, look, long story short, he ended up getting 2 record deals. Okay. And so, smart people say, well, let's take advantage of this opportunity. And John basically said, like, put together some good singers that you know. And so we were able to make 2 groups out of that, and eventually we were able to be singing the same group, and it's a bunch of other stuff that happened, but That man right there, he's pretty amazing.
Yeah, man, I'm telling
he was able to open the door for me to get pretty much signed.
Yeah.
Like just on his word.
Like,
he was
and
like,
how
oh,
old,
y'all
if you
need
don't
another
mind?
singer? And he was like, I know a couple people. So it was me, my friend Ruben, a couple other people.
And that's based on connection.
Yeah, just
I'm telling
about
you,
who you know, and that man was plugged in.
And not to discredit your talent at all, because I know
that's
that you're
part of it.
That's part of it, but that connection aspect, and you know, is huge. Okay, so you've connected, and now you're working in the industry. I kind of want to go back. Yeah, so the two. You were signed to Universal, Latin, and Univision. I want to make sure I'm correct.
I want to say it started off either as Univision. They had a music group, and then Universal Music Records ended up buying them at that time. So it was Machete Records or something like that. Okay. And so it was a cool experience. I got to record with a couple of artists like Frankie J. I got to demo stuff for like Paulina Rubio, a couple other like predominantly popular people in the Latin industry. A lot of bachata singers, but for whatever reason, I didn't take that as a bad thing because we really didn't get pushed. You know what happens sometimes where you get shelved? Yeah. Matter of fact, that was just more fuel for the fire. You know, and I just kept going.
Exactly. The fact that I'm in the room and I'm exposed to this is enough for me, I would say, So I kind of want to talk about like, okay, so now you're there. How did you like get into like, yes, we know that John like kind of puts you there, but like, I feel like you've discussed so many different genres of music that you've been exposed to, right? And now you have your own journey and you are creating your own path. What would you say, what type of genre would you say you fall under? If you do, like where do you say you fall under?
I'm really, really trying to always reach, if I can speak to the soul, I want to speak to the soul as much as I can. And so sometimes it's a combination of things. So I would like to be a bridge if I can, because culturally, right, I look one way, but I mean, I was raised with a different kind of mindset. And so to me, I would like to show basically the way I see the world. I would like to tell the story the way I see it. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of people who resonate and who not resonate, but who I think can relate to a lot of the experiences that I've gone through.
Yeah. So in your music, you talk a lot about your experiences.
Right. And it's not just as far as lyrics go and storytelling. We're also talking about music and styles and certain implementation of different rhythms, right? Because I like that stuff. Like I really do feel like we always go back to the roots, man. There's something about that certain instrument or that certain sound or that beat. When you hear it, oh man, it just hits you a certain way.
It does something to your soul. I mean, for me, certain songs, it's just like, oh man, it's just like I can feel the energy, through
and just
song,
to kind of give you an example, like let's say that you're not really good at speaking Spanish, right? You don't know, you're not fluent. Well, you should be able to feel something when you hear it, even though you may not know Spanish, it's like, oh my gosh, I felt something now, and I think that's key.
Yeah, because it's more of a spiritual, I would say.
Yes, it's spiritual language. Like music is very spiritual.
Yeah, I would say, for sure. Okay, so I know that you have some great projects that you're working on, but I kind of want to go back because as I was doing research, I mean, I know you, but like, honestly, I don't know you like to that extent. And
so
we
don't talk about this stuff.
I didn't know you were in the military.
Yes, I was in the military. I did.
How?
I always wanted to join. So this is a funny story. I was actually going to join the Navy when I was like right out of high school. But that opportunity that I told you with John came up. Yeah, I got signed. So I said,
you get signed and then you go to.
Yeah, I ended up taking that deal and I got some good advice, some good friends. And I'm glad I took that opportunity. But
you're saying the deal, the singing, the artistry opportunity, right?
I took that deal.
So like, yes, how did the military come about? Because you're in the industry, you're signed, and then you're just like, I'm going to go to the military? Like, I'm just trying to understand.
Well, after a while, sometimes deals, they only last a certain time, or they're only meant to kind of help you at a certain moment. And so that had all kind of gone away, and I was just pretty much on my own. Like, I'm not a signed artist anymore. I was just pushing on my own independent after that.
Sorry, how long did you operate in the deal?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It felt like 5 years.
But was it 5 years?
Probably. I don't recall.
So you were in this deal for 5 years.
Yeah, working hard.
Finished the deal, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to the military.
No, this is way later. This is way later. I ended up just getting a regular job, just doing regular things, not really pursuing music, but just doing it more as like a hobby.
How do you go from that extreme lifestyle to Kirk Franklin?
I don't know. I really don't know. My story is like a little crazy. Maybe I wasn't focused completely on the music, or I was still trying to figure out what I was trying to do. But instead of getting frustrated because I felt like I wasn't getting another record deal or another opportunity, I felt like, you know what? I've always wanted to join the military, and I feel like I could learn some new skills. Okay. So what I ended up doing is I ended up joining the military as a combat photographer. Okay. I was like, photography? That sounds like a new skill I could use. And I'm glad I did because
that's how you got into the military.
And so I was offered a contract to be in the special forces, and I said no, but they offered me to be an airborne, and I said yes. So that led me to actually work in the special forces unit. So I was a combat photographer for some pretty high speed people, and I
literally took amazing pictures.
I was able to travel a lot and do a lot of cool missions.
Oh, I thought you were like Tin Hut, like I thought you went through like all the training and all. Did you have to go through all of that?
Well, yeah, you have special kind of training for certain type of deployments, depending on who you're deploying with. Sometimes you have to do a little extra stuff, but jumping out of airplanes is not something we really do that much anymore, but we do train, so we do jump
intense,
out of,
I'm sure.
But that experience led to a situation where I was in Iraq, and I got I guess an episode of a disease that I wasn't aware that I had.
Okay, when you say an episode, what do you mean an episode?
It's like in my situation, in my case, it was I have an autoimmune disease called ankylosing spondylitis.
Ankylosing spondylitis.
And so I guess the environment I was in while I was in, I want to say.
Can I pause? Can I read? I want to make sure that everyone understands what ankylosing spondylitis. I've been practicing. Okay. So it's a type of arthritis that causes inflammation in the joints and ligaments of the spine, right? Normally the joints and ligaments in the spine help us move and bend, right? So, these type of movements. If you're having ankylosing spondylitis, over time, the inflammation in the joints and tissues of the spine can cause stiffness. So you were experiencing this. Yeah. Wow. And you had no idea, like, why is this hurting? Like, what's up?
Like, even the people I was working with, like, hey, we got to move fast. We got to move fast. I was like, I don't know why. I just feel like I'm stiffening up. And it actually started with my eyes was the weird thing. They thought I had pink eye, but that's how they were able to find out that I had this autoimmune.
Okay.
Because after a long process, they were able to help me. And so now I'm getting the proper care, and it's something that we're managing, but it's something that could never be cured. Regardless, that is what ended my military. I was medically retired. So I was supposed
6 years you were supposed to be in the military, right? And then you were retired.
I only ended up doing 4, so 2 years early.
Okay.
And so, I really loved what I was doing. Because, I felt like, I found a new purpose. I had the record deal, and that was cool. And now I'm doing cool stuff in the military. Yeah. But, I was a little upset about it because I felt like, who can control these types of things? And so.
And it happened. So it wasn't like you were like born with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus like.
Worked hard.
Yeah. And then it just happened.
Cool story about that whole situation is that pretty much it led me to this, though. Because it was like, all right, it's time to get back into music. I was kind of like down about it. I was like, no, I don't want nothing to do with music. But luckily I had good friends that told me, no, man, you're born for this. You should try to pursue it. Yeah. And so.
You really had record deals. It's Kirk Franklin and all these amazing people that you've opened up for and worked with to go into the military. And God's like, just kidding. Yes, you're here.
Yeah, that's how
just kidding. And then.
Yeah, so I was a little bit upset, but I feel like it all turned around.
Yeah,
I really did. I just didn't quit. I didn't hear all the negativity, and I believed in myself. And more than anything, it was people who were egging me on. Yeah, like people like John, and
Hey, John, it's John for me.
Yeah. And so I'm very grateful that all the experiences led to this moment. Yeah. Actually, I'm super grateful. I'm here talking to you about it. Actually,
I didn't know your story like that, Manny.
Yeah, well, there you go. What a great opportunity to talk about
it. Okay, so let's go to there's a not disease. I don't like this word. I work in the psychology field, but it just like bothers me. But you have this diagnosis, and now you have left the military, and now you're going into music, going back into the industry that you started with. How does that affect, your
Well, it was hard,
now?
man, because you hear a lot of things like you really want to get back into it, and you're feeling some kind of way about yourself. You have to get past all the you stuff,
It's
like,
the
oh,
mental.
it's not really this and that.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the way, just fearless Manny just said, "I'm gonna do it anyway," and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Situation. Well, since we're talking about it, last time I was here, the last time I had produced a song was like there was a lapse of 6 months that I kind of just like, man, it's not really working out for me. And Lane she asks to hear some of my most recent stuff. And I ended up showing her that song, the last song that I
we were
worked on.
getting there. We were
Oh,
getting
you're
there.
okay. I'm sorry.
But
I'm jumping.
I appreciate that. Yes. Because that brings us back to, okay, now you're into the music industry, or not in the industry, but like you're getting back into creating and making music. But like, what does that really look like? And so right now, this is where we're at. You met Lane at a Mesh event. You guys met before through Mesh, essentially.
Yeah, but it was just like hi, bye. And it was like years had passed by. But honestly, I went from feeling like forgotten to like ended up in a place where it was like I couldn't have ended up in a better place. Like I am super happy about where I'm at. Musically, I am very, very, the people that I'm working with, like I couldn't ask for anybody else. I love every single one of the people I'm working with. They're all amazing.
Yeah. It's like, sorry for like a random Kojic moment, right? But I just feel like God like kind of just like, yes, this is exactly what you're going to do. And you knew that you were born and raised to do it. It was like inevitable that you will be, in the music industry and all the deals that you got. But then God was just like, oh, I need to like, whip you into shape.
That's exactly what it felt like.
I need to whip you into shape. And you literally got whipped into just take me to the gym. I'm not trying to go to the army and military. I'm just saying. But that's exactly what it seems like God did. And then it was like, all right, boop. Now you can go back to, where we originally started and that's back to music. And that leads me back to like, my last question is like, okay, what's next? I understand that you mentioned Lane, but like, and you have the Lane. So, okay, like what's going on with, what are next steps for you? What are you working on now?
So currently I'm a full-time student at Full Sail University.
Yeah.
And it was always a dream of mine to obviously be a musician, do music, but you grow up and you get inspired by more people and other creatives. And so I wanted to be an animator. And so I've always liked animation, anime, cartoons, however you want to call it. I just like telling stories, and I think that's why I like music. Music is just, we're just storytellers, really. And I think that's my approach when I write songs. But what's next for me is definitely a lot of videos, I would say. I'm not only a musician, a producer.
Because I was just going to say, like, I met you as a videographer. I had no idea, literally, that this was...
I want to put on a show. That's what I want to do. That is the future. I can't tell you exactly what it looks like or what, but...
Because who can?
We're going to put on a show, whether it's a concert or a video that you're going to watch. And so... merch, clothes, I mean, you name it. I think you should just never put limits to,
no limits,
yourself.
No boundaries.
No boundaries,
I see increase.
If you dream it, you can achieve it.
Absolutely.
God probably put that in your mind for a reason.
Absolutely.
Therefore, pursue it.
Yeah. So, okay, now as we are wrapping up, we are now working on, the project with Lane. How do we find this project? Can we talk about it just a bit? What's the name of the project?
So right now we have a single called Hey You. And the name of our group is The Manny Lane Show.
Because it's a show.
It's a show. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And so it's available on all platforms, Spotify, iTunes, whatever other source you use. And we definitely have more songs following up, and it's not just one or two. We already have another probably 10 in the lineup.
It's 10 for me.
Yeah, we already have 10. And so not just that, it's in Spanish. It's also in English. It's in Spanish and English.
Hello.
And we're just not afraid to do it.
I love that. I love that. That's
Who cares?
So like different. Once again, I met you as a videographer. So like never in a million years would I have thought that you were an artist. Not to say that you are not capable of being an artist, but then to hear you're an artist, and it's just like, oh yeah, wow. Because we all got like 5 or 6 different jobs, right?
Yeah,
and
we all wear
talents
different
and skills
hats, right?
and passions, and it's okay. It's okay. And I think that was like, that's the biggest thing that, you know, what we want to highlight is being able to have like these different talents, being able to create a community, because based on the talents and skills that you have and the network and the connections you have, you were automatically input into like a community that was going to serve you, whether it was 5 years or 10 years later. You know what I mean? Like, because later on you connect with Lane, and when God felt like you were ready to deliver, this was the perfect time for you to deliver.
Because it was definitely some character building that needed to happen for sure.
Yes, for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It was an awesome conversation.
I literally met you as a videographer.
I know.
And like as I done research, I'm like, what? Manny.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I think
he's the behind the scenes guy, you know, like he's the one with the camera, and then
it's a testimony of what people might experience here at Mesh. And so thank you for, you know, being a part of this story, honestly. Like, thank you for for this moment. And I'm looking forward to making more memories, hopefully. And being here again. If they invite me.
Absolutely. Listen, we want to know what's next 2 years later. We want to catch up with you and see what Manny is doing, you know? So thank you again. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story. I think I heard a lot of, you know, this whole season we've been talking about collaborating, networking, being professional, not giving up, and things of that nature. And that's exactly what you did. And that's how you've been able to carry your career throughout the years. And it's the same behavior. Sorry, I'm going to get a little nerdy for a second. But it's the same behavior that you are displaying across the board, from, you know, military aspect to the artist to the videographer. Like, you are still consistent.
Never quit.
Like, I still got a show. I'm still,
Let's keep it moving. Yeah, the show got to continue.
The show must continue.
There you go.
Guys, it was a great conversation. Did you guys enjoy that? It was a great conversation. Thank you, Manny, for coming through. You guys already know the deal. If you are a creative, or if you are looking to submit your favorite creative, you know where to find us at meshclctv.com. I'm NickiiJean. Thanks for tuning in. And if you really want to stay connected, subscribe from down below. Welcome to Mesh.
Mesh Talk is created and produced by The Mesh Collective.